possible with a CFP professional.
Find your certified financial planner professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
Welcome back. We want to check oil and gasoline this morning. The price at the pump rising about 6 cents from a week ago. Meanwhile, President Trump yesterday targeted OPEC and the price of oil, tweeting this: oil prices getting too high. OPEC, please relax and take it easy. World cannot take a price hike. Fragile, says the president. Joining me right now, the Schork Report publisher, Stephen Schork. And Stephen, it's good to see you this morning. And it is true, as oil prices go up, it's sort of like a tax on people, right? Because when you're paying more for gasoline, that means you're going to be paying less in any other discretionary items that you might be paying money for.
Fair enough, Maria, but this is a pet peeve of mine. Oil at $55 a barrel simply is just not too expensive. We have to keep in mind they were artificially low back in December. Wall Street back in September at the end of the summer made a wrong way betting on higher prices because of the Iranian sanctions that were going to go into effect back on November 1st. They were wrong, and the market corrected, and we bought them in the low 40s. We're just now getting back to where we were prior to that bubble. At $55, Maria, simply, they're not too high. It's a question of, are they too low for producers? Because keep in mind, you have to have oil at a certain price, any commodity at a certain price, to increase production, to bring more supply to the market. So by trying to talk this down, you're targeting OPEC, but guess what? You're also targeting West Texas, North Dakota, and all the other great oil-producing countries in this states in this country. So Trump is playing a dangerous game in rhetoric at this point.
Stephen, hi, James Freeman at the Wall Street Journal. I'm wondering if we could imagine for a moment that the tyrant Maduro falls in Venezuela and it becomes a more or less normal country, welcoming to investment, pro-growth. What does that do for the world oil market?
Hi, James. It's going to take away the volatility, which is very important at this point. You're not expecting to see any sort of material impact with supply coming to the market. Venezuela has been circling the bowl now for 10 years. The lack of infrastructure, the lack of investment, the lack of capital in that country means that it's going to be another generation before Venezuela ever gets back to where it was one generation ago. So certainly it's not going to have any sort of material impact on bringing supply to the market. But the geopolitical risk they're taking out will decrease volatility in the global markets.
And we should point out that the U.S. announced new sanctions. It's urging allies to freeze the assets of the state-owned oil company there, and the situation seems to be getting worse.
Yes, Stephen, it's not surprising that the president would make that comment, especially as we enter into summer months. I mean, as Maria started, this is viewed as a tax on the consumer. President Obama used to kind of hint, oh, I'll open up the reserves. He didn't, but prior presidents, both Bush and Clinton, did open the reserves. This is something that everyday people are looking at. What's the price of the gas tank?
Right, but we also have to keep in mind, guys, that commodity prices do not generate economic growth. Economic growth generates commodity prices and dictates commodity prices. So when we have fallen commodity prices, we actually have a sign, a hint that something is amiss here in the economy. Today, it is the end of February. We're going into March. We're putting different gasoline into our car. Gasoline that is harder to manufacture, to acquire the feedstocks to make that gasoline. So we're going into the summer months, the summer grades. So because it is harder to make this gasoline, those prices inherently always move higher. So we're at that seasonal DY over DX moment, that inflection point where we're supposed to start to see gasoline prices rise because we're putting different gasolines into our car. And once again, I'll maintain at $55 a barrel. We keep on saying it's a tax. No, I don't take that view. Keep in mind, at oil or gasoline prices today at $2.80, $2.90, they're still about 50 cents a gallon cheaper than they were in 1981, adjusted for inflation. So once again, we want to see stable, strong commodity prices because, to me, that is the biggest telltale that we have a strong, growing economy.
Yeah, but Stephen, if you looked at wages adjusted for inflation, I think they're down more.
No, I disagree. Once we go across for the last 30 to 40 years, going back to 1980s, yes, wages have been stagnant over the previous two administrations, both Bush and Obama, hence why we have Trump in office today. But once again, when we move along the x-axis completely, certainly the pullback in demand for the pullback in price is certainly not a detrimental impact on the consumer.
I don't think we're disagreeing here. I mean, we're talking about two different things. I mean, my point was, if gasoline prices go up and we see a significant move in gas, it does act as a tax on people. Are you saying that no matter what the price of gasoline is, it's not a tax? I mean,
I agree with Maria.
That's what we're trying to say, but you keep saying, no, I disagree. We're not saying the current gasoline price is a tax, but at some point when gas becomes expensive, it does become a tax on people.
And that's why we're not surprised someone like President Trump would make that statement.
Right. So I don't think we're disagreeing, or are we?
Well, I think we are disagreeing because essentially price is a function of the balance between supply and demand. A tax is fiat, something that is imposed by the government. So we have rising gasoline prices. Guess what? We probably have rising demand. Rising demand is a function of a stronger economy. So no, I disagree. I do not think it. I do not look at it as a tax.
You don't look at it as a tax. All right, Stephen, we will keep watching that. Good to see you, sir.
All right.
Stephen Schork joining us there, the Schork Report. Coming up, drug prices in America. Merck and Pfizer, just two of the pharmaceutical companies sending their CEOs to Capitol Hill this morning. What to expect from the hearing and possible regulation that could follow. We're going to take a look at that. And then he wants his cookies. Jason Momoa loves Girl Scout cookies and wants some of the delicious treats that bear his name. Story coming up. Back in a minute.
I get delirious.